Fears about a recession eased a bit this week after another strong jobs report, but with the Fed likely to raise interest rates again later this month and high inflation continuing to push up the cost of everything you buy, Americans remain deeply uneasy about the economy just months before the midterm elections. Joining us now, New Hampshire Republican Governor Chris Sununu. Governor Sununu, thanks so much for joining us. So the U.S. economy has now recovered all of the private sector jobs lost during the pandemic. Gas prices, after shooting up, have been dropping steadily for more than 3 weeks. Do you see this as signs that the economic outlook is going to improve, beginning to improve, or are you worried about a recession coming?
Recession is coming. You cannot add $5 trillion onto America's balance sheet and just hope it goes away. The recession is coming. The Fed, I think, has known this for a while. They've kind of ignored it. They should have been easing us into the right rates and where we need to go over a year ago. You had a Treasury Secretary who was saying, oh, well, it's not inevitable. Well, of course it's inevitable. You don't need 4 years at Dartmouth economics to know that when you add that $5 trillion, there has to be some outcome. And unfortunately, the outcome is high gas prices, high housing prices. The price of a taco is getting unbearable for some folks. And it hits lower and middle income families very, very hard. And that's just going to be the issue going forward.
What do you think the Biden administration needs to do about it, if anything?
Well, there's a couple of things. Look, first, I would fire the Treasury Secretary. I think she's completely misled America because she didn't want to kind of own the bad news, but that's part of public service. You got to own the good with the bad. You got to ease folks into it and present a glide path. But the more this administration keeps telling people that a recession isn't inevitable, of course it is. Look, gas prices might come down a little bit, and that's wonderful. Home heating oil prices are still going to be at record rates this winter. And just having people in their homes, elderly couple, folks on fixed incomes, low-income families, just to heat their homes this winter, that fuel crisis has yet to rear its ugly head. But believe you me, it is coming. And that reality is going to come to bear at the toughest times, right? We have high energy prices now, cost twice as much to fill your gas tank. It costs about twice as much to create baseload generation. And all of that really comes to bear, and it's not going away anytime soon.
Let's talk about some other national issues. You have said that abortion will remain legal in New Hampshire up to 24 weeks. But so far, at least 9 Republican-controlled states have near total bans in effect with no exceptions for rape or incest. Some Republican lawmakers are looking to go even further by limiting access to contraception and restricting women's ability to cross state lines if they want to get an abortion. Do you have any concern that members of the Republican Party are overreaching with these policies?
Well, I can speak here in New Hampshire. We're not changing anything, right? The access that women had to abortion today is the same as it was 2 months ago. We're not changing anything. Republican leadership here in this state has stated as such. It's a state issue now, and every state's going to really try to find their path. I think it's going to take a little while for some of this stuff for folks to figure out where it's going to truly settle. For a long time, states had that backdrop of Roe v. Wade, that protection, if you will, of not the full abortion bans. But some states are going to have some very tough discussions coming forward, without a doubt.
What's your response when you hear someone like South Dakota Republican Governor Kristi Noem, who said on the show last week that her state's law would make no exception for a young girl who got pregnant after being raped?
Yeah, look, I don't agree with that at all. I just don't. I mean, Governor Noem and the folks of South Dakota have to reconcile that, but I don't agree with that, and that's definitely not the rule of law here in New Hampshire. So we're going to keep it accessible, we're going to keep it available, and make sure that folks have that choice.
Last month, Congress passed the first new federal gun legislation in decades, which includes incentives for states to implement red flag laws. 2 years ago, you vetoed a red flag law in New Hampshire. Has your position changed at all since then?
No, look, the red flag law that came to New Hampshire, that was opposed by the Coalition Against Domestic and Sexual Violence. That would have created loopholes for boyfriends and whatnot. It would have prevented women from carrying a firearm to protect themselves from dangerous other individuals. I think as what you saw in Illinois, red flag laws aren't the end-all be-all. There were red flag laws there that failed. So the fact that we're just going to sign a law and call it a day and move on to the next thing, when you're talking about gun violence, these mass shootings, you have to have a much more encompassing approach. And it's all the things that we've been talking about in terms of mental health, finding connectivity for these kids, just those emergency services. A lot of folks don't even know where to go for an emergency mental health service. Here in New Hampshire, every student's going to have an emergency mental health hotline on their back of their student ID. Every single one. So every family has that access. The concept of one trusted adult, social emotional learning programs in schools. And we fought back the teachers union here in New Hampshire to ensure that every teacher has suicide prevention training and mental health training to make sure that, again, whoever's interacting with those kids, who's seeing them over the course of the day. Unfortunately, when you're talking about school shootings, there's a lot of similarities with a lot of these shooters. It's disconnectivity, it's mental health issues, it's abuse and trauma. Those things can be identified when the community really comes together as a whole. So I go back to this idea, we're just going to sign a law here and ban another gun there. That all sounds good politically, but at the end of the day, it has to be a community effort to really tackle the problem.
Let's talk about January 6th, because last year you said former President Trump's, quote, rhetoric and actions contributed to the insurrection at the United States Capitol building, unquote. And since then, obviously, because of these January 6 hearings, we've heard testimony that Trump knew the crowd that day was armed, wanted to escort the mob up to the Capitol, wanted to go up with them, resisted taking any action while Congress was being overrun, despite calls coming in pleading with him to take action. What's been your reaction to these hearings?
Well, I've watched a little bit of the testimony here and there, bits and pieces. Some of it definitely calls a lot of decision making into question. Some of it you have to wonder where it's coming from. It's second and third party kind of hearsay type stuff. Did it really happen? Didn't it really happen? So I'm as curious as anyone where it all falls out. I don't think it's the political issue that a lot of Democrats especially want it to be. Come November, because it doesn't define a party, it doesn't define a platform or a policy. I think it more, if anything, defines some very bad decision making, particularly at the White House on a single day. And it's not just former President Trump. I think there's a lot of other individuals that are going to have to be called to that. But at the end of the day, you want to find out exactly what happened. It's all about making sure it doesn't happen again. It's all about making sure you put the right preventative measures in place to make sure that we don't have that situation again. It was just a terrible day.
That was a horrible day, but as you know, of course, Trump's attempt to overturn the election was a many months in the making, built on the foundation of lies about the election. And a lot of Republican candidates for governor around the country are pushing these lies. Doug Mastriano in Pennsylvania, Kari Lake in Arizona, Darren Bailey, Illinois, full-throated supporters of these election lies that helped incite the violence at the Capitol. Do you see that as disqualifying?
Well, if they were on the ballot in my state, I would disqualify them. You just picked three pretty interesting individuals. They all do happen to be running for governor. We'll see where those races end up. Look, as a voter, I think voters look at what's happening at their kitchen table every day when you're talking about whether something's a disqualifying issue, and that's going to be gas prices, it's going to be inflation, it's going to be housing prices and the lack of housing and all of this sort of thing. Those are the things that are really going to be driving folks to the polls. So I don't know if there's ever one single disqualifying issue, but my sense is if they're kind of pushing that line, there's other issues and other platform policies that folks might have questions with. But that's something every voter just has to kind of decide for themselves, look at the whole platform, look at what's important in their state and what's important for their family.
Assuming you are reelected, will you entertain running for president?
It's Sunday morning, Jake. We're going there already? Really?
I'm just wondering.
No, look, people ask me that all the time. No, look, I am so focused. I love New Hampshire. I mean, I am addicted to the state almost to a fault. I really am. I love being here. I love being governor, and we can really make some changes. Totally focused on this election. Got to earn every vote. And then we'll take next year. But really just focused on what needs to happen here. I still think you're going to have a potential small COVID surge this winter. We got to make sure we're prepared for that. I think inflation and gas prices are very real, hitting people hard. So we're trying to make sure that we're providing the right opportunity for cutting some of those prices back here in New Hampshire. And then finally, all this federal money that is in these states, you got to spend it wisely. You can't create more big government with it. One-time money for one-time investment in infrastructure. And that's going to go on for a couple of years. And that's where my focus is going to be, making sure we're just smart with our dollars.
Well, just for the record, that wasn't a no. Governor Sununu, always good to see you. Thank you so much. Have a good Sunday.
Thank you, buddy.